Hello!
Today I'm going to explain the FNAF lore to the best of my ability, specifically from 1 through 6 in Ultimate Custom. It all starts off in 1983 with a restaurant called Fredbear's Family Diner. This place is owned by two men, Henry Emily and his good friend William Afton. The gimmick with this restaurant is that there are two animatronics, Golden Freddy and Spring Bonnie. Now these were spring lock suits, aka animatronics that can also be worn as suits, but are dangerous if overused or wet. Like, you'll die because the spring locks will snap shut with you inside if they get loose. Henry was known for wearing the Golden Freddy suit, and William was known for wearing the Spring Bonnie suit. Now, it's 1983, business is booming, alright? And they create a second location called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. This location featured a brown Freddy Fazbear, a blue Bonnie, a bird named Chica, and a pirate fox named Foxy. Now, the franchise was huge at this point. They even had toys and a cartoon. Side note, William was likely in charge of Fredbear's Family Diner, while Henry was in charge of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Enter the Crying Child. You see, the Crying Child is the youngest son of William Afton. He also has an older brother named Michael and a sister named Elizabeth. During the mini-games of FNAF 4, we see the Crying Child in the week leading up to his birthday party. It seems that the Crying Child witnessed something that has left him horrified of the animatronics. Now, taking into account Scott's post of what is seen as shadows is easily misunderstood in the mind of a child, plus the fact that the Crying Child witnesses an employee putting on a Fredbear suit, it's likely that he misconstrued this into believing that the animatronics eat people, something that his older brother Michael will not stop teasing him about, basically just jump scaring him in a Foxy mask at like any opportunity. Also of note, in this minigame is the Fredbear plush, which talks to the Crying Child and follows him around with its eyes. In the game's sister location, we see a bunker William Afton has, with a camera set up in a walkie-talkie with the Fredbear plush. So it's likely that this plush was just kind of like a nanny cam of sorts that William could speak through. Anyway, during the Crying Child's birthday party, however, Michael and his friends decide to torment the Crying Child by forcing him to give Fredbear a kiss. Unfortunately, Fredbear's mouth clamped shut.
Was that the bite of 87?
Nope, but it was the bite of 83. The gameplay of FNAF 4 leads us to believe that the Crying Child was hospitalized, but he eventually passed away. And the last things he heard was Michael apologizing and William promising to one day put him back together. Fredbear's would shut down after the death of the Crying Child. Now, this would directly lead to the inciting incident of all the murders. You see, Henry has a daughter named Charlotte, and he built a security puppet to keep her safe in the pizzeria. However, during a party, some bullies locked Charlie outside, where she was approached by William Afton. He's the purple guy, if you didn't know. It seems, after losing his son, William was drunk and angry, and upon seeing Charlie outside the restaurant, whether out of jealousy or just pure drunken rage, he killed her. Alright? And he just left. Now, typically that would be the end of it, except that we see the security puppet went after Charlie before being damaged by the rain and collapsing next to her body. This incident, however, would lead Charlie to possess the puppet, becoming the first haunted animatronic. Upon William returning home that night, we see the events of Midnight Motorist, where William is turned away from a bar called Junior's before coming home, where someone on the couch, probably his wife, Mrs. Afton, tells William to leave him alone, he had a bad day. Then we see the someone in question broke out of their bedroom window and escaped. Also of note is that there's one pair of animatronic footprints and an unmarked grave. My theory is that Michael is the one who ran away and that he ran to the unmarked grave which belonged to the Crying Child. As for the footprints, I believe it was the spirit of Golden Freddy visiting Michael. You see, it's a very prevalent theory that the Crying Child would possess Golden Freddy after the animatronic bit him. And some evidence of this is that Golden Freddy, saying it's me, which presumably would be to Michael. The security logbook where they mention things associated with the Crying Child, like saying things like the party was for me. And also the poster in Pizzeria Simulator, which represents the Afton family, features a golden bear symbolizing the Crying Child. So yeah, the theory is Golden Freddy showed up, did the whole it's me thing, and Michael ran to the grave to see what's going on. Fed up with Michael running away, William moves him to a room without windows and builds animatronics to scare Michael into obedience by making him too afraid to leave his room. Now, it's very likely Afton was using something called sound illusion discs to make the animatronics seem scarier than they are. Sound illusion discs being discs that make illusions by using sound to mess with your vision. It could also just be gas causing the night terrors, like in the book Dittophobia. Anyway, this is because we know illusions were used.
This time, there is more than an illusion to fear.
But we also know the animatronics are real due to a map we see in Sister Location. Side note, we know Michael's the player, as we see in FNAF 4 you can actually hear the phone calls from FNAF 1, and Michael would draw drawings of Nightmare Fredbear in the security logbook, so it was most likely him. Even though there is hospital equipment that appears randomly, it's most likely just manifestations of guilt over his brother's death, since this is most likely just a nightmare he's having based on what he experienced when he was younger. After Charlie's death, Freddy's would shut down. In 1985, Freddy's was once again back and running, when one day, William Afton, the purple guy himself, returned. He first dressed up in his old, spring bodysuit and began luring kids to the back to kill them. Now, why would he do this, you might be asking? 2 reasons. Number 1, after killing Charlie, he realized he's a psycho who likes killing kids. And number 2, after noticing the puppet, he began to theorize that Charlie possessed the puppet after he killed her, and that figuring out how this happened could possibly give him the secrets of immortality, and maybe help him put his son back together. A possible 3rd reason is maybe he wants to shut down the restaurant after he reopened. Regardless, the first victim was a girl named Susie.
I was the first. I have seen everything.
He told her dead dog was alive in the back room. However, when she went back there, he killed her. He would then repeat this process with Gabriel, Fritz, and Jeremy. And then finally there was Cassidy. But he might have went a little too hard in the paint with this one, killing her more brutally than the rest. Now, this incident became known as the Missing Children Incident, or the MCI for short. It seems security footage saw someone in a yellow suit luring 2 kids to the back, and they charged William, but there was no evidence, and they couldn't prove it, so he escaped scot-free. But it wasn't over for these 5. No. You see, because the puppet found them, stuffed in the suit where William left them, and gave them life. And as such, 4 of the animatronics came to be possessed by 4 of the kids, all except Cassidy. It seems the puppet didn't do anything to her, so it seems possible that Afton caused Cassidy to die by being spring-locked, and this led to her possessing Golden Freddy, since we see Golden Freddy in the Give Life minigame, but the puppet didn't do anything to them. Plus, when Golden Freddy twitches in Ultimate Custom Night, it looks a whole lot like when we see Springtrap twitching after getting spring-locked in the FNAF 3 trailer. This would also mean there are 2 spirits inside of Golden Freddy, which is backed up by the security logbook where 2 spirits are communicating with Michael. An example being one saying the party was for you and the other one saying the party was for me. This logbook is also how we discovered Cassidy's name. Plus, in FNAF 3, all the masks have one eye lit up representing their possession, but Golden Freddy has 2. Anyways, after the Missing Children's incident, Freddy shut down. Having 5 kids die on the premises is not really good publicity. But they reopened 2 years later with the launch of the new toy animatronics, basically animatronics based off of old toy designs. These were more advanced animatronics that featured facial recognition software to keep out predators. The original animatronics were kept in the back for parts, however it seems that the use of these parts led to possession of sorts for these toy animatronics, implied by the something borrowed something new poster. New animatronics include Balloon Boy and Mangle, who's a mangled version of Funtime Foxy. On night 6, Phone Guy tells us that
someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
and that starting tomorrow our player character, Jeremy Fitzgerald, will be working the day shift. Of course, the incident they're referring to is the Dead Children's incident, in which the Magenta Man himself dresses up as a daytime security guard to infiltrate Freddy before putting on his old spring body costume and killing 5 more kids. It seems he just refuses to let there be a Freddy's running without him. Either that, or he's doing more experiments, or maybe he just really gets his kicks out of killing kids at Freddy's. The animatronics start acting a little quirky after this, probably implying that the DCI kids possessed the toy animatronics, and or they are on edge after witnessing Afton, who they hate. As for Jeremy, the next day he would get a little closer to the animatronics than he maybe would have liked. You see, they weren't feeling very friendly towards security guards after what Afton pulled. Was that the bite of 87? He survived though.
Was the bite of 87. It's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe,
Mangle probably bit him, in case you were wondering. That very same night, though, the replacement night guard named Fritz Smith would be fired for odor and for tampering with the animatronics. The restaurant would shut down after this, bad publicity and all that, and the toy animatronics were scrapped.
Due to the massive success, and even more so the unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment.
William Afton, with his own company, Afton Robotics, would try to capitalize on the success of Freddy's by building his own restaurant, Circus Baby's Pizza World, featuring animatronics like Baby, Ballora, Funtime Freddy with his pal Bon Bon, and Funtime Foxy. This batch of animatronics was created to further Afton's experiments with something called remnant. It's basically like a metallic-like substance, which is like the remnant of life, aka the MacGuffin responsible for possession. Basically, if there's remnant in an animatronic, it's going to be possessed. As such, Afton equipped them with all sorts of things, including, child-sized hatches, voice mimicking, child-grabbing claws. It's all basically just an elaborate operation to kidnap and experiment on kids and animatronics. On the grand opening of Circus Babies, Afton's own daughter decided to go play with Baby, despite Afton telling her not to,
Daddy, just once let me go play with her.
And in the end, this leads to Elizabeth possessing Baby, turning the metallic blue eyes to green. Circus Baby would shut down after this due to quote-unquote gas leaks, and Afton would then create Circus Baby's rental service, where he rents out the animatronics except for Baby, probably just to keep him bringing money and victims in lieu of having an actual restaurant. Now, some people might be asking why that I put the placement of Elizabeth's death here. Well, two reasons. It had to be after a Freddy's closed, so it was either 1985 or 1987. And the Foxy in FNAF 2 seems to be the first time Foxy was redesigned to be more kid-friendly. So I put it after FNAF 2 because I think Funtime Foxy is based on Mangle. Years later, in 1992, they would create another Freddy Fazbear's restaurant, because if something doesn't work, just keep doing it exactly the same until it does? Yeah, well, that's their strategy. This time, they repaired the old withered animatronics, and this time they're on a really low budget. Like, this place looks run down even though it's open. The events of FNAF 1 happen, in which the security guard Mike Schmidt survives the nights before getting fired on night 7 for odor and tampering with the animatronics. Nothing else of note really happens, except for us finding out that phone guy was killed by Golden Freddy. F's in the chat, legend has fallen, we will never recover, gone but never forgotten. Anyway, after the events of FNAF 1, William returns one last time to try to tamper with the haunted animatronics, probably in hopes of gathering materials for his experiments. In a minigame, we see that one by one, he dismantles the animatronics. Side note, Afton's just an absolute unit, man. He looked at 6'6", solid metal animatronics that run at 35 miles an hour, and the guy literally just ran the gauntlet, and in seconds, he just rips them apart one by one with his bare hands. God damn, why is he killing kids, bro? Put him in the UFC. However, by the time the last part of the minigame rolls around, some time has probably passed, seeing as how there are 5 spirits even though we only saw 4 animatronics being dismantled. The spirits, most likely led by Cassidy, confront William, scaring him until he puts on his old spring Bonnie suit. However, the spring locks in the suit fail, and William Afton suffers a brutal, agonizing death. I mean, what a flip of the status quo. This time the kids killed the purple guy. But William's corpse in the safe room would be locked away and hidden behind a false wall. Fazbear Incorporated does not want to deal with that. Some theories exposit that perhaps Henry was called in and he told them to hide away the room as some sort of revenge against William, but that's just a theory. Meanwhile, Michael Afton has been sent on a mission by his father. You see, it's highly likely that he was both Mike Schmidt and Fritz Schmidt, and that he was tampering with the animatronics likely on the orders of his father. Imagine a relationship something like Vanessa and William in the movie if you've seen it. And now he has been sent on his very own mission to put Elizabeth back together.
And I found her. I put her back together, just like you asked me to.
Because you see, Afton kept the possessed baby animatronic, but now it seems the other Funtime animatronics are also possessed. There are 3 main theories as to how they're possessed. Number 1, they killed kids. Number 2, he used parts from the scrapped toy animatronics. And number 3, the most commonly accepted one, is called molten MCI. The theory goes that Afton melted down the endoskeletons from the original animatronics and injected them into the fun times. He would have done this after dismantling them, but before he returned and got spring-locked. Evidence of this includes Henry's speech in FNAF 6, where he states he's bringing them all back, and the only way that's possible is if they're in the fun times. Or I guess if their spirits are there for some reason, but there's not much evidence for that. Also, and I know it isn't canon, but molten MCI literally happens in the books, which is probably why a lot of people believe it. This would also mean that the remnant from a spirit can bring things to life, like the toy animatronics in the fun times, without also actually having the actual spirit possess it, because the spirits would be spring-locking Afton at the same time that the fun times exist. But I guess the toy animatronics already proved that was possible. It's just something to note. Regardless, Michael goes to the sister location bunker, and the animatronics are acting up like usual. Eventually, Baby takes Michael to the scooping room, where the animatronics scoop out Michael's innards, and the Funtime animatronics, who have escaped their shells and combined into one being called Ennard, enter into his body to escape the facility using his corpse as a flesh puppet until it starts to rot, literally turning him purple, and Ennard leaves the body, escaping into the sewers. However, Michael is not dead because he possesses his own body, probably due to being injected with Remnant. Either way, Michael, now a purple guy,
This is getting out of hand. Now there are 2 of them.
Vows to go find his father.
I'm going to come find you.
Years pass, like a lot of years, until 2023, where a horror attraction called Fazbear's Fright is being opened, basically cashing in on the horror stories of Freddy's Pizza, right? Michael signs up as a security guard, still looking to confront his father, who he now knows is evil and who he probably blames for his purplification. It is at this point that the events of Security Logbook happens, where he converses with the 2 spirits of Golden Freddy. But everything was pretty uneventful since that place has no animatronics and all. Until one day where they discovered a fake wall and unleashed the beast known as Springtrap, the monster that William Afton has become after possessing his own body. Either that or Cassidy is keeping him alive so he can suffer. Michael, who is suffering hallucinations from lack of oxygen, the hallucinations are of burned animatronics from FNAF 1 and 2, further confirming he was there. He survives the week, and finally, he burns down the restaurant and puts an end to his father for good. Or so he thought.
I always come back.
Then the spirits of the missing children incident enact what is called Happiest Day, where they finally give the crying child the birthday he deserved, and they all finally move on. Except for the puppet. You see, her mask falls slower than the rest, and the character encyclopedia confirms she decided to stick around when she found out William was still alive. I should mention, Cassidy didn't participate in Happiest Day, and is probably haunting Afton, as Andrew, a Cassidy parallel in the books, does the same to Afton in the books. Then Pizzeria Simulator happens, where Henry, finally deciding to be relevant again, returns with a plan to end everything once and for all. He puts a listing out to own a new Freddy Fazbear's restaurant, but there are special instructions to participate in salvage of deadly animatronics and gather all the animatronics for a party on Saturday. The main animatronics that need to be assembled are Scrapchap, who's a Springtrap after the fire, Scrap Baby, you see, because Baby and the other animatronics inside of Ennard had a fight, and they kicked her out, so now she's a Scrap Baby, and Molten Freddy, the other members of Ennard in a new form without Baby, and finally Lefty, who's an animatronic created by Henry to contain the puppet. And might I add, god damn it, Henry, if you built something to contain the puppet, why are you letting it roam around in the vents and try to kill people? And by happy coincidence, the person who accepts the job listing and runs the pizzeria is Michael.
And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be.
And at the end of the game, Henry's plan is enacted, where the entire pizzeria is burned with all the animatronics inside, in order to release the remnant in them and finally send them to the afterlife.
For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, friend.
It seems like Remnant is weak to heat. I guess the first fire just wasn't hot enough. Henry and Michael also decide to stay and die, I guess. Afterwards, it is revealed in Ultimate Custom Night that the vengeful spirit Cassidy is torturing William in hell and making him have to suffer an extreme version of FNAF, aka getting mauled by animatronics, for the rest of eternity.
He tried to release you. He tried to release us. But I'm not gonna let that happen. I will hold you here. I will keep you here. No matter how many times they burn us.
And that's it. That was the end of FNAF. Until they made more games, but I'm not going to talk about that. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Looks like the power went out. Just gotta get that back on and... Oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no. I gotta get out of here!